We have multiple new Roki Sasaki Toronto Blue Jays updates to go over today as more and more reports have dropped, revealing some very interesting details surrounding the Jays' pursuit of Sasaki. And now that the international player pool has opened up, the Jays are making some interesting moves and plans in order to prepare themselves for the inevitable signing of Roki Sasaki to some team, and hopefully it is the Toronto Blue Jays, as reports are starting to pick up, leaning in certain directions. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. If you're enjoying the daily content, make sure to smash that subscribe button. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. And the Roki Sasaki situation keeps getting, more interesting. His signing at this point is inevitable. Is it inevitable with the Toronto Blue Jays? There's still a bunch of teams, two other teams, that is the Dodgers and of course the Padres, that are in the mix. But things are starting to sway a little bit in the Jays' direction. And I think the longer this drags out, the longer that this whole process continues to drag out, the longer that, the more likely that I think the Jays are going to be prominent players in, his ultimate decision. And this dropped. So while most teams signed top international amateurs Wednesday, the Blue Jays stayed quiet, hoping for one player in particular. Ben Nicholson-Smith broke down the state of affairs from the Jays as they await Roki Sasaki's decision here. So a few different things to go over. And we'll start with this. So this came from Ben Badler. The three finalists for Sasaki, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Jays, aren't expected to sign any players for above $10K until Sasaki informs them where he's signing. I think this is the first confirmation that the Jays are following suit to the Padres and the Dodgers. So this is pretty big news because we're going to start with one thing here. We know, and the story has been all along over the past few days, that, hey, the Dodgers and Padres, they aren't signing any international players, and they're trading. They've declined some of their international players in order to save some money so you can give Sasaki the maximum amount of money when it comes to his signing bonus, because that's what all this matters is. That's what all of, this extra money, that's where it is going, sorry. So when you're thinking about the three finalists, the Jays and the Padres, and the Dodgers, of course, the Jays are following suit. They're also doing that. They are not expected to sign any players until Sasaki informs them where he's signing. So the Jays have enough confidence in their own ability and, to convince Sasaki and to have convinced him in their meetings, that they think he's going to come to the Toronto Blue Jays. At least they think that enough to where they're not going to sign, and they're going to potentially risk losing some of their other players in exchange for, the opportunity to get Roki Sasaki. And I know what Jays fans are thinking. Oh no, we're going to miss out again on, we're going to prioritize this blockbuster superstar signing, and we're going to miss out on some other guys, specifically the international players. Not necessarily the case, because again, the international players aren't as guaranteed as like when the Jays missed out on a bunch of other free agents because they missed out on Soto or, Ohtani and things like that. When it comes to Sasaki, BNS came out and said, I had wondered whether the Dodgers and the Padres and Toronto would all be trading for international bonus space this morning, but some people with knowledge think Roki Sasaki will make his choice first, at which point the chosen team will have the chance to trade for added cap space. So how this works essentially is that when you look at the Jays, the Dodgers, the Padres, any of these three teams, but we'll talk about the Jays for the sake of this. If they want to make international space, you can trade for it, and then you have until the 23rd to actually execute that trade. So let's say that Sasaki comes out tomorrow and says or even today, and it says he wants to sign with the Jays. They can then trade for that space. But if he doesn't choose until the 23rd, then you're not able to trade for that extra bonus pool, which is why all signs are pointing to Roki Sasaki signing over the next handful of days. Whether that is today, whether that is tomorrow, it's going to happen before the date of the 23rd, so that the teams can make those subsequent moves, specifically the Jays, to give him the maximum amount of bonus money as possible. And Ben Nicholson-Smith gives some more interesting insight into specifically how the meeting went. They've evidently made a pitch that resonates with him. It would cover pitcher health and pitcher development. They've done well to get this far, beating out some strong organizations, but closing deals is another part of the job. Ultimately, it doesn't help the roster at all to be seriously considered. So, and I have another piece of information that Yusei Kikuchi actually helped the pitch supposedly as well, which is very interesting. So they've made a pitch that resonates with him. It will cover pitcher health and pitcher development. You think about what they've done with pitcher development and things like that. They developed well at the major leagues. Alek Manoah. Pete Walker is a very good pitching coach. You think about the pitchers that they develop. Robbie Ray. You think about Steven Matz. You think about, of course, Alek Manoah at the major league level. They've struggled developing minor league pitchers. When it comes to guys that are already elite and have elite stuff, like Robbie Ray is a perfect example. They signed him, and then he went off to be, a Cy Young, type pitcher. Now, when you think about Sasaki, if this works if they go out and you're trying to pitch Sasaki, you can say, hey, we got all of these guys. We helped improve all these guys. We have a state-of-the-art facility. We have a dome. If that, he's familiar to playing in domes. It's the only dome in baseball that he's considering. And then you think about all, the renovated Rogers Center. There's a lot of intangibles here and tangibles as well that you would kind of go and lean towards when you're trying to pitch to a player like this. And Steve Phillips came out, and former MLB executive and, a guy who's on TSN, a reporter. He has the Padres number one, Padres, Jays, Dodgers. And when you think about John Morosi's prediction, it is the exact same. So they both have the Dodgers third and the Jays second. The Jays aren't first here. And again, these are just predictions rather than reports. But when you have a bunch of linked guys or locked in, LinkedIn guys reporting these things and kind of making their guess, you start to take notice. Now, the Padres here are the favorites. We've been hearing that the Dodgers are kind of leading the pack right now, even though that's what most of the vocal, the vocal reporters are thinking and saying. Things start to get interesting there. And some executives with knowledge of the international market predict that Sasaki will make his decision first before giving the chosen team some time to acquire further bonus pool money. Teams can increase the total value of their pools by 60%. In the Blue Jays case, they can increase their element from 6.2 to 10 million. So his bonus signing money, his signing bonus there can go up to 10 million, which means he will choose before the 23rd. I would assume it's going to be either today or over the next few days. And again, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest news there. But as you start to look at why the Jays haven't made any of these international pool signings, it's because they're saving for Roki Sasaki. Yeah, they made some trade. They traded Brett DeGoose, all these different things. And again, Scott Mitchell came out today and gave some more insight on, what the Jays have done behind the scenes and kind of gave some more insight on what they've been doing specifically regarding players like, been scouting Roki for 2 years, 3 years. They've really been putting work in all the way back to 2017 with Shohei Ohtani. And specifically, Frank Herman, he really is all in on the fact that he is really close with Roki Sasaki and that the Jays are doing this intentionally and that relationship there is really strong. And that is why Scott Mitchell, in the first place, reported the fact that Roki Sasaki and the Jays had very strong mutual interest and that the Jays were all in on him. He was the first reporter to say this, and he's gotten it right up to, so far. And he seems very convinced that the Jays have a strong possibility for Roki. Now, when you're looking at some other things here, Scott Mitchell also came out and said Kikuchi talked to Sasaki about Toronto, which is very interesting as well. We were all wondering if former Blue Jay Yusei Kikuchi would talk to him about Toronto, and he did. And this is huge because when you think about the Dodgers, they have Ohtani, they have Yamamoto. The Padres have some players as well. The Jays now are able to kind of skirt in there and have some of their own guys, whether that be Frank Herman, a former teammate of Sasaki, whether that be Yusei Kikuchi, someone who has familiarity with Roki Sasaki. All these different things are playing well into the Jays' favor and playing well into their hand, all behind the scenes. It is all behind the scenes here. And that is why a lot of these people, I think it's a pretty even race right now between the Jays, the Dodgers, and of course, the Padres. And as things start to, come to an end here over the next few days, this is a turning point for the Jays front office, and we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for daily Jays content, and let us know down below, or let me know down below what your thoughts are on this news, because something big is coming, and it's coming soon. Cheers.